Hi, my name is Dr. Tova Fuller. I am Vice President of San Francisco Bay Physicians for Social Responsibility, and I'm here with Dr. Alex Rosen to talk about nuclear weapons. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Alex Rosen. I'm a pediatrician here in Berlin, in Germany. I'm co-president of the German chapter of IPPNW, the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War. I was one of the people involved in founding the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons back in 2006. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have you. So would you say maybe you know something about nuclear weapons?
I would say so. It's been a big part of my life for the past 20 years.
Okay, good, because I want to know your favorite fact about nuclear weapons.
My favorite fact, I would have to say, I was in Budapest a couple of years back, and I was walking through Buda Castle, which is this castle right above the Danube, beautiful spot, and I found this red X in the middle of the square, and I was like, what is this? And I looked for a plaque or something, some sign, and actually found it, and it said this is the exact spot where NATO nuclear weapons were pointing at to destroy Budapest. And I found out that actually in every city there are these spots, these targets, because if you have a nuclear weapon, you have to point it at some coordinate. So in fact, all of these nuclear weapons that are located in Russia, in Germany, in the US, in the UK, in France, they actually have coordinates. They actually have places that they're pointed at, landmarks, public parks, big hospitals, military bases. And this is, for me, the most eye-opening fact that these are not weapons that are used as a strategic deterrent. These are weapons that are actually poised to target a civilian population in a city. And this is what caused me to really become active against nuclear weapons.
Powerful. You just answered my next two questions too. You know, as an aside, this reminds me of the Target X installations.
Well, that's where actually the Target X got its name from. This is the exact anecdote that I just told you that led to the creation of this Target X project that we started.
Awesome. So cool. Okay. Um, why does a doctor's voice matter when it comes to nuclear weapons?
Well, I think we doctors, we are very closely connected to our patients, very closely connected to all walks of society, and we have our ear near the ground. We hear what people are talking about, and we also sense the impact of what we're doing in our daily lives. And I think more so than politicians or lawyers or most other professions. So what we see here in our Charité hospital in Berlin are the effects of war, the effects of refugees coming to Germany from war-torn areas. We see the direct effects of war and conflict. And as doctors, we also would see the direct effects of a nuclear weapon being used. And this is the lesson that we learned from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that in the case of a nuclear detonation, we doctors, we health professionals, we cannot help. There is no meaningful medical response. And this is why it's our responsibility to let the politicians and the military know this. We should let them know that we do not have a meaningful medical response to a nuclear attack. And this message is actually the most resonating during the Cold War, the one that led Gorbachev and Reagan to actually sit down and negotiate nuclear disarmament. And we continue to play an important role. If you take ICAN, the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, it's the humanitarian message of this campaign that actually led to countries all over the world realizing that it's them that will pay the price of a nuclear war. Countries in Africa, in South America, in Southeast Asia, they too are affected by the nuclear threats of the nuclear weapon states, not just we here in Europe or you in the US.
Yes, yes. And I think I have a question about that too, but I wanted to know who your favorite nuclear abolitionist is.
My favorite nuclear abolitionist. Well, I have to say Setsuko Thurlow as Hibakusha, as someone who survived the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and who's still going strong on nuclear disarmament, who's traveling the world teaching young people like me about what it actually means to live through such a catastrophe, and why it is important that we do our utmost to prevent that another city becomes a victim of a nuclear attack. And I learned a lot from the Hibakusha when I traveled to Japan. Um, and I think they opened my eyes to what it actually means um, to witness such a nuclear attack on your own city.
Yeah. Okay, wrapping things up, what is the most important thing in the world to you?
My children, I would have to say. The most important thing is my family, and I guess this is the biggest motivation to change something, the biggest motivation to work towards the prevention of nuclear war.
Yeah. And by your estimate, what is the most important thing that we can do to advance nuclear abolition?
To advance nuclear abolition, I would have to say right now it's getting states behind the nuclear weapons ban treaty that's up for ratification this year, um, uh, which will become part of international humanitarian law and which will be a very powerful tool in pressuring not just governments in the military, NATO, and other nuclear weapon states, but also pressuring banks and companies that are earning money with nuclear weapons to get out of this weapons of mass destruction business. In terms of preventing a nuclear war, we would probably have to start at a much earlier stage. And I'm talking about preventing war and conflict altogether. I'm talking about multilateral multilateral peace negotiations in areas like the Indian subcontinent, the Southeast Asia Sea, in areas like the Middle East, where conflicts can easily escalate into a nuclear conflict. So talking about preventing a nuclear war is not just about abolishing nuclear weapons, it's also about preventing conflicts from escalating into nuclear conflicts.
Alex, you're such a beautiful human. Thank you so much for your time. Okay.
Well, have a nice evening, and I will go back to work now.
All right.
Bye bye.